Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Hello, Potteroonies. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. On a very special podcast, the first of up-and-coming podcasts where we're going to do some spoiler specials on major film releases or home video releases. Yeah, so we would just have a general chat about our reactions to the big films and big home releases. And obviously, we are kicking off with The Batman. And no, that was not Optimus Prime. It is Batman, apparently.
Optimus Prime as Batman? That'd be interesting. The best mashup.
I mean, there's no cow big enough, dude. I mean...
Move over, Robert Pattinson.
That would be very messy, transforming from a car to into a man, giant, and then putting the bat suit on. Just a lot of tears going on. Very mangled.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that suit would have to be the size of a building.
Yes, you've heard him already. I'm joined by the duct tape man himself. He has returned from Arkham to join us today.
Yep, to tie you all to your chairs so you can listen to us talk.
So, Boaz, initial reactions. What do you think of The Batman? Where does it rank for you on your Batman ranking?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, on my Batman ranking, that's difficult. I think it ranks pretty high. I'm not sure where to put everything. This is something I'd have to watch them all again, and then I think I think initial reactions, to really be thorough. But I think initial reactions, I think it's really high. I think this again sounds like incredibly cliche and stuff, but I think maybe The Dark Knight, Lego Batman, and then this a very, very close second, almost tied, but for different reasons. But this might be above all the Burton Schumacher ones for me.
Really?
I think this is pretty high for me. Yeah, I did quite enjoy it. I did.
Yeah, I think it's pretty high. I don't think it's as good as The Dark Knight or Batman Begins. I think it's possibly on par with Batman Returns and Batman 89. Yeah, I generally love the feel of this film. There's been a lot of criticism that it's far too dark and a comic book movie should just be a comic book film, but I think you can't really do that with Batman now, as we've discovered and ripped to pieces of Batman and Robin. You just can't go down the silly comic route, I don't think, with Batman anymore. Batman and Robin basically killed that idea. So I think dark is the way with Batman now.
This is the way.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Robert Pattinson as Batman, I thought the suit looked awesome. I really do. Just this very homemade feel, a very different look in terms of how he's developed the Batsuit compared to other iterations. And he has such a presence as well. I don't think that's very new for me. Certainly in that opening, the first detective scene, you can feel all the eyes on him from all the other cops and stuff. He has real presence, and even in that first opening scene where you've got voiceover, which is again a very new thing, very Rorschach-y from Watchmen. Yeah. I love that. Kind of bookends the film as well. It has the voiceover at the end.
It's very crime noir.
Oh yeah, film noir.
Yeah, I would say it kind of reminds me in the seminal work by Frank Miller of The Dark Knight Returns. He monologues constantly in that.
Yeah.
And, that's largely seen as the rebirth of the character in the 80s from being, camp since the 60s to more serious. And they've never done that, which is strange. They've made, Batman darker, with Nolan and what have you, and more serious. But they've never tried to do that, very, hard-boiled voiceover detective sort of bleak view. But yeah, I think you're right, very Rorschach.
But I love that kind of like opening scene where, you have all these criminals like writing like, slowly revealing that they've written broke on the buildings. And they're always like fearful of the shadows and like, I am the shadows.
Yeah,
he says. And then he just slow as he like, just walks out of the shadows and just beats up a load of criminals. I thought that was just a great opening to see the suit for the first time.
Yeah. I do think the great thing about the opening is there's a lot of like fake outs, but it makes you feel like you're one of these criminals. So, that guy that robs the corner store and he sees the bat signal and he's just looking at the corner, just in the street behind the lights, and he's like, there might be. I find it funny because he even got hit by a car because he's not paying attention. He is so scared. Yeah. He is so scared that Batman's there. And then the graffiti artists are just looking at the doorway. And then when you get, third time's the charm, those criminals looking, they hear they're harassing a guy and they hear a noise and they look. Darkness, and then out come his boots. You hear the noise, and I do like that because how he just walks out and you hear the noise of his like metallic boots. It's like he's the Terminator. Yeah. He's just coming out. He's a creature from like Nightmare, Yeah, and I thought that was done really effectively.
I mean, it helps when Gotham's weather is terrible.
Yeah,
it rains all the time. Obviously, that's very on purpose, but it's just kind of funny that it's raining all the time in this film.
Yeah,
some sunshine would be lovely.
Yeah, it's essentially England.
Yeah. Well, they did shoot some of it in Liverpool.
That's amazing.
Actually, for the funeral scene. But what do you make of the suit? Fan of the suit?
Oh yeah, I kind of like the suit. It's one of those strange ones because it's not that bulky. He definitely fills up the suit, and he looks tall. He looks very tall, but it's not that bulky as I think. The Batman Begins suit. I think the Batman Begins suit might be my favorite suit.
Oh, okay.
Because I just think he looks more, menacing. He looks huge. It's not as bulky as that, but I think one of the things that's kind of interesting is it does look. It's like the Batman suit that looks the most like it could be real. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's the most homemade. It does feel like he literally like welded all this together, and and it seems very functional and practical, and definitely like it could protect him. A lot of the other Batman suits, they feel like they're made of rubber, or in the case of the Batflick one, out of fabric. But this one looks like it's made of metal. This looks like it could stop anything. It looks like it's.
And it does.
It's army combat armor, and it does. So I think that's kind of interesting.
I kind of like the grapple gun that it kind of just it feels like it is attached to his arm. He just like flicks it out and shoots. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
I'm not sure about the wingsuit. Yes, they're going very practical, but it did look a tad silly on him.
Yeah,
I get where they're going with that.
He didn't look the coolest flying through Gotham, looking like a squirrel essentially. Looked like a flying squirrel rather than a bat. But I wasn't really expecting that. But then, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was like, this is probably what a real wingsuit would have been like. If real Batman had a wingsuit. But it doesn't mean it's like the best Batman wingsuit. It's like,
And he's clearly never done it before, because obviously that's that moment where he looks down and like, whoa, shit, I need to jump now.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that. Yeah. I think it's the first time you see Batman scared, because he's like, oh my God. But it's the first time he's jumped off a building.
And also, he needs to work on his landings. I mean, he had a mighty whack under that bridge. I was like, shit. Probably should have died, to be honest. It was a huge impact.
Yeah.
I mean, because the helmet is basically just leather. It looks just leather to me.
It looks leather, but I don't know if it is leather. Because I don't know if anybody tried to shoot him in the head. It might be something more durable. But it definitely doesn't look as durable as the rest of it.
And that is kind of a flaw with the storytelling as well, with the fact that, yes, the chest plate is all metal, and he gets a lot of bullets, and it just makes the bad guys feel a little stupid when, certainly at the end, I'm like, just shoot him in the head, dude, or the legs.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
Even though you have this incredible scene where it's literally just all lit in muzzle flare, and the Batman, I think, is in Carmine Falcone's
thing, yeah.
In apartment in the corridor.
I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah, it's completely black, and the only light is are the guns going off. I do agree. I do think that was badass. But yeah, in that scene, you feel like he is kind of untouchable. They're just shooting him, and it's like, and you're like, holy crap! I don't think you've ever seen a Batman armor in the movies this durable, like literally submachine gun fire, point blank. But I do think it was kind of. I do feel, even though you have some fights which he kind of breezes through, like in the first fight he has with those thugs, he beats the shit out of them, no problem. In Penguin's Club, he's just kicking the shit out of everybody. And then the Carmine Falcone one, where he is just a tank. These are all good fights. I do think, there's not that much danger to Batman, except the last fight, and I think that's the perfect place to put it. You know, because even though he's got really great armor, these guys are like firing elephant guns or something. Like when he gets shot, he literally flies through the air, like, you know. So I kind of, that scene I thought was really cool at the end, and definitely to have it at the end, because you're like, it's Batman fighting a bunch of Riddler goons with guns. He's fought guys with guns. This is fine. But when one of the guys shoots him and he's literally, whoa, you know, you're like, oh man, these are some serious guns.
Goes flying.
Yeah, so I did feel like Batman was in a lot of danger at the end. So I did like that fight.
And I love this addition of the fact that he basically it seemed like a shot of adrenaline, and it's like a special hole in his leg, gives himself a shot of adrenaline. I thought that was great. It definitely gave me Logan vibes there. They've got that from Logan. It feels practical as well, and the fact that he is kind of a bit unhinged as Bruce Wayne and Batman, that's something he would do as well.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell, I thought was pretty funny in this. He was great prosthetics.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the accent was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Hello, sweetheart.
Yeah. I think it's not just the prosthetics. It's like he does not sound or act or move anything like Colin Farrell. You're like, he's just, he's a different guy. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought he did a really good job. And yeah, he was quite funny. I like his Spanish lessons of like helping them solve a riddle. Yeah. Don't you guys speak Spanish? It's not El Rata, it's La Rata. I like that.
Yeah, the fact that they're trying to think way too hard, Gordon and Batman, but no, it's just like it's URL.
Yeah, URL. Yeah, I thought that was quite funny. Yeah.
So that makes him feel quite intelligent.
Yeah, he is quite. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like he's not just some moron. I think a lot of the villains did feel like credible threats. Like, you know, the Penguin is a threat. He's not like some moron, but so is the Riddler. The Riddler is a threat. As impenetrable as this Batman is, it's like these guys could still potentially kill him.
Yeah, what do you think of Paul Dano then as the Riddler?
Yeah,
No! It's not supposed to go this way!
Did you sit on something?
I thought he was great, to be fair. No, I was clearly being Paul Dano as the Riddler.
Stub your toe. Yeah. I thought I quite liked him. Yeah. I thought he was quite creepy, and he was kind of it's weird. He was kind of over the top, essentially like putting on this really over the top performance, but not in the same way as like Jim Carrey. It's very much a
no.
It's kind of over the top in the opposite direction. Whereas Jim Carrey is like fully Jim Carrey and zany and crazy. Paul Dano is so over the top, but he's more like menacing and like really unhinged, and you don't know exactly how he's gonna come at you. Yeah, like he could whisper things to you, breathe really loudly. Or he could just go completely crazy, like, you know. And I do like where they change that up at the end, where Batman figures out the password to his secret video to, you know, destroy Gotham and everything. And he's just like, "Hey guys, thanks for the support." And you're like, what the hell? You know, it's like he's so casual. And
that was hilarious.
At no point in the film is he casual, just that scene. And I thought that was really funny.
Hello.
Yeah. It's almost like the character of the Riddler is doing like this really weird performance art to be as scary as possible. And then I just love I love that bit of, you expect that he's on the camera, creepy mask. He's like, "Hey guys, thanks." That was funny.
I do feel like that was kind of a dig at Instagram influencers a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, I thought he was great. I think I definitely agree. He has a very over the top performance, but it does feel grounded. And that opening sequence, kind of like the prologue, I guess, where the mayor just moves and he's just right there, and the light is so perfect that it just catches 2 dots of light on his glasses. That was amazing shot, I thought.
That was a great shot. What was strange actually is that the filming in this reminded, and it's kind of ironic because it reminded me a lot of when we watched Prisoners, which also had Paul Dano in it, and I said you get this very fly on a wall feeling from Prisoners, because they would do all these wide shots and you'd be kind of really far from the action, but you would see it almost like you're a spectator. I noticed it did it a lot in this film, which is strange because it had Paul Dano in it. And I thought it fit with this film as well, because the Riddler he's like this sort of omnipresent force that is just seeing everything that Batman's doing and everything everybody's doing. And you get it in a lot of scenes where everything is shot like quite far away with minimal cuts, and it does feel like this could be the Riddler just looking at the scene. It's just got this very fly on the wall look to it.
Well, it's exactly the same thing as Batman. Like, is Batman lingering in the shadows or whatever? This very lingering wide shots. So very similar to Prisoners, as you said.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what the film was kind of going for with the stories, with the story in terms of Batman / Bruce Wayne's arc, is the fact that when Batman takes down the last Riddler guy, literally beating him to a pulp, takes the mask off, and he says, "Who are you?" Well, he asks him, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm vengeance." And that's what he said before. He's always been seeing himself as vengeance. So throughout the film, like, Batman and Riddler kind of have the same trajectory. One being more sadistic and the other one being kind of slightly more naive about what he's doing in terms of trying to be vengeful about trying to save the city. But they're basically going in the same direction of what they're trying to do. But then, obviously, at that point, it's more of a realization moment of like, oh shit, this is not working what I'm doing. I need to be more heroic. Yes, that's a great idea. It's not really particularly very new ground in terms of a Batman film, in terms of how Batman develops. I think it's done better personally in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, but I still quite like it.
Well, I would say, like, in Batman Begins, he learns that he has to be, as you said, like the savior of the city, and not just in the shadows and scaring criminals. He's got to be more than a vigilante, like a kind of legend. And then in The Dark Knight, he realizes he can't even be the hero. He's actually got to be the villain to make the city work. So those were interesting arcs in those films. I think, in this, it's like he has to learn. It's essentially like Batman Begins. He's got to learn that he has to be not just fear and terror and vengeance and violence, but he needs to be hope as well. He can't just be one without the other. Otherwise, he's very similar to the Riddler. Well, the Riddler's kind of,
So I think Matt Reeves is a really interesting director here, because certainly with his Planet of the Apes films, the 2 he did, there's a lot of like biblical imagery here in those films, and there is biblical imagery in this one as well. Certainly towards the end, where he's got the red flashlight and he's leading these people out of the water. That was pretty very cool. Moses-like.
Very Moses-like.
So he's very interested in biblical imagery, I think, and it is quite powerful at the end. And obviously, when he's basically helping people out of the floodwater, and the girl is literally just holding his arm, and the girl won't let go until the last moment as the helicopter is lifting her up. That was quite a powerful biblical moment, I think, that they're seeing Batman now as this symbol of hope. So it's an interesting choice Reeves was going for, and even a choice of hiring Reeves in the first place. But saying that, is this film different enough for you to exist compared to like the Nolan stuff and the Tim Burton movies? Is it different enough, or
I think so.
or is it treading way too much ground of the same ground?
So I think the one way it is significantly different than the others is, so I would say, even though like the Nolan stuff was far more realistic than the Burton Schumacher stuff, so that had a reason to exist, because it's like, okay, this is Batman, but more real world. I think this is also real world and very modern, but I think the difference is like this is more like, I think, delving into a part of Batman that doesn't really get explored in movies, and this is the fact that he's a great detective and he's a very smart individual. And I don't think you've really had this in a Batman film.
There's been detective elements, but it's never been central to the story, no.
It's never been full-blown. Yeah, it's never been central to the story. And I think what would be a good trajectory is to know, because I think it's the best thing to have Batman as a detective in a Riddler story. I mean, that just makes a lot of sense.
He's the perfect villain for a detective story.
He's the perfect villain for a detective story. But I think Matt Reeves shouldn't like let up off of that. And I think he should make, if he makes a Batman trilogy, make that a distinctive element that goes through all of the films. Then I think that would come across as very different. If in the next film he's again looking through clues, interviewing people, and going through another detective story, and then the third one, another detective story.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, pick more Batman villains that are more of an intellectual problem for Batman.
Yeah, because for me, this film is basically a film noir from like the 50s and 40s, but just with Batman instead of a guy in a trench coat.
Yeah.
And I love that, I think, again, he just has incredible presence in this film. And also the relationship between Batman and Gordon has never been as strong as in this film. Which I love that. And Jeffrey Wright is so good. And I love that scene where he's kind of basically trapped in the police station and he's like, here's the keys. Punch me in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, he's making it sound like he's having like a hard discussion with him. He's like, no, I'll talk to him. And it's like, you better. And I like this.
Yeah.
I don't trust any of these guys. Here's the keys. Yeah, I like that. Well, I would say this film isn't like laugh out funny, and it's not so ridiculous, and it is quite serious. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and there are light-hearted moments in this. So I think that's great. There are moments of levity. So I do like the bit where he punched him in the face, and then afterwards he's like, couldn't you have pulled your punches? And he's like, yeah, I did.
That was good, yeah.
It's kind of funny because it's like, it's not like so funny it's ridiculous, like, Batman Forever or whatever, but it's just kind of a little chuckle where you're like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and I think the Penguin gives the film a lot of humor as well. There's a great moment where you find out Carmine Falcone is the Rat, and he's being walked out of the station or walked out of wherever, and the Penguin sees him and he's like, I'm going to paint this guy, spray paint this guy a new asshole or something. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. That said, also, the performance of
John Turturro.
John Turturro. Everybody's saying the villains of this film, and especially, because they're the more fantastical villains, are the Penguin and the Riddler. But John Turturro is really up there. Like, he is the third villain, and I just don't see anybody like make a big deal, because in the film he is a big deal. And I like how they kind of peel back layers. At the beginning, he's not such a big deal. He's like, the Riddler is threatening the city. The Penguin has got this seedy nightclub. He's not such a focus in the film. But then when you unravel more layers, it's like he's the reason all of this is happening. He is very connected to Bruce Wayne's father, perhaps his father's death. That's left ambiguous. So he could have actually killed his father. He's linked to Catwoman. He's her father. Spoilers, by the way, anybody who's listening.
Yeah, this is spoiler special. Let's carry on.
This is very spoiler. And, obviously he's the Penguin's boss. He took all that money from that was given by the Waynes to the orphanage that the Riddler was at, and he stole that money. And not only that, he actually runs the city. So literally every official and police person and all that the Riddler was killing worked for him. Like he is so central to this movie. And I love the reveal of that. I love that.
Yeah.
You just think you don't even see him that much in the promotional material, but it's like,
no,
dude, this guy is the real villain. Why aren't people talking about this? Like, this is, And I thought John Turturro did a good job.
Yeah,
especially because you don't really expect that from him. He's more like the zany, funny guy.
Yeah,
but he's being a very straight-faced, quite intimidating gangster.
What do you reckon about Zoe Kravitz then? I thought she was great.
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good.
I'm not sure about the costume. I think certainly Selena Kyle in this is basically the representation of how poor a lot of these people are. The cat suit is very dirty, torn. I don't really like the balaclava. If she's literally trying to hide her identity, she's basically just hiding her nose. That's it. But
oh, okay, yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah. So that's only covered like about to here, and it's completely open. Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous.
But as a performance, and I thought she was great. That whole scene where she's got like the camera in the contact lens, I thought that was a great scene.
Yeah, that was good.
A lot of interesting tension there with the corrupt DA Coulson.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah. Also, her last confrontation with John Turturro, I thought that was pretty good. There's a lot of emotion in that.
Yeah, I thought it was a tad cliche though that when Catwoman does save Batman from falling into the water, you could definitely see that coming at some stage. They kind of set that up.
They set it up because it's kind of blindingly obvious. Are you talking about like at the end?
Yeah.
Where literally the guy is doing the most sensible thing, like the villain, one of the Riddler henchmen, but he's doing it in much the slowest way that you're like, yeah, where is she going to hurry up here? Because this happens on so many movies, but it becomes a bit tiresome.
Yeah.
Where it's like Batman's hanging on for dear life, and the dude has this enormous gun, and he's literally very slowly moving it from his armor to his face. You're like, dude, you could just like and just blow his face out of his helmet.
Yeah.
Come on, you know what's going to happen here. Catwoman's going to save the day, and she does.
Yeah.
There was actually a film where I saw that setup happen, because I've seen that happen so many times in so many movies, and it is a cliche. The bad guy has the good guy on the ropes, and very slowly puts the gun to him, or very slowly puts the knife to him, and really they're just, trying to wait out the time until somebody can save them. Yeah. And I saw this one film called Blackthorn. Have you ever watched that? That is a good film. It's a Western, and it's meant to be like, what if Butch Cassidy survived? The fight with So at the end of the movie, Butch Cassidy he survives that, and he's living somewhere else, and he has a last adventure when he's an old man. So it's a really good film. And there was this one scene where this guy pulls out a shotgun and is like, holding up his wife, and she's taking so long, and you're like, well, he's going to come and save the day.
Save him already.
Yeah, she just shoots his wife like straight in the chest. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I thought that was done effectively, because I was like, it sets up exactly like this. Like, they're waiting for time for him to save her, and then she just shoots it. I thought that was amazing. I thought that was a really well done flip of expectation.
I guess that's the problem with this scene in The Batman, was because the guy's never going to shoot Batman, in the head. I mean, that's just never going to happen.
No, yeah, I mean, and I think I would be so surprised if that scene was, slowly, and then he just blows his head off. But then you don't have any more movie. There's no more series. That's it.
Oh, that ended unexpectedly. Oh, it's Batman's brains everywhere.
Yeah. I would go, wow, I would have been shocked. I think I would have fallen out of my chair. I would have gone, man, they had balls. But that film is terrible because they killed Batman. What is the goddamn point of that?
But then Robin turns up and saves the day. Oh, Robin.
It would be funny if it was Chris O'Donnell. Now, like in his 50s or something.
Yeah. I mean, I love this film a lot, but there's one scene I absolutely hated. I really didn't like it. I didn't see the point. I was like, stop it.
It was really tagged on as well.
It's the scene where the Riddler is in Arkham Asylum, and then someone is listening to what he's saying, and he's basically talking to him, and this character is the Joker. You can tell it's the Joker because he's got all kind of like stitches around his mouth, funny hair, played by Barry Keoghan. It's just why we've had loads of Jokers in the past, 2 rubbish ones recently, and it's just like, do we have to have another one? Just leave the guy alone. Let him write some new jokes. Give him time.
Yeah, I think also it kind of undercuts the importance of the villain in this film. If you're just like, oh yeah, the villain isn't that, big a deal. Here's the Joker. You're like, for fuck's sake, I haven't had a time to like, let the Riddler have his moment to shine, for Christ's sake. You can tell that's like pandering to the fans who they only really know one Batman villain and they only want that Batman villain.
There are loads of Batman villains out there. Yes, lots of silly ones, but some really cool ones.
Yeah, underexplored ones. I can name some that I think would be great for like sequels. We were talking about this. I think I would love another shot at Two-Face. I know he's been done twice before, and we're talking. But the Joker's always been, whenever he's in a film, he's the main focus, and Two-Face has always been done dirty because it's like he's almost not really in the film. I want to see just Batman versus Two-Face, So I think that would be a good one. I would like to see a serious version of Mr. Freeze. I think that's something I want.
It's hard, though. How do you make a serious version?
I think it would be hard, but I think it would be kind of interesting. I was like, how do you make a grounded version of Mr. Freeze? The only reason I say that is because Matt Reeves was thinking that. He was like, it would be interesting to do Mr. Freeze. And I was like, I was kind of intrigued. I was like, how do you make a serious Mr. Freeze?
Because his backstory is really interesting, isn't it? So with his, his wife having McGregor syndrome.
Yeah, and I think with Batman and Robin, like they had the stuff with his wife, and that's interesting, but it doesn't gel with the rest of his depiction. He's so cartoonishly silly, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, I think with Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, you could cut that bit out of his storyline, and he could just still be a madman who likes diamonds. Like there's no reason for that. But I think if you had like a more sympathetic villain who is really trying to save his wife, and that comes, I think that could be kind of interesting. Robert Pattinson said he would really like the Court of Owls. I think that would be kind of cool because that's a huge conspiracy. I like the fact that at the end of this film, he's discovered a huge conspiracy that the entire Gotham government is being controlled by the mafia. Yeah, it's all corrupt. It's being controlled by the mafia, specifically Carmine Falcone. And then I think for another one that literally all of Gotham is actually controlled by like an evil fucking organization that has ruled it for hundreds of years. Like that would be insane.
Well, now this film is left in like a big power vacuum. So yes, we're going to have the Penguin TV series. That's exciting with Colin Farrell, but yeah, there could be lots of interesting criminal underworld stuff going on.
Absolutely. I think you could like set up quite a lot of things. So I would have like only one villain be the focus, so you don't get too sidelined. But just like they did in this film, and have the Penguin there basically, and he helps out. You could do that with some other villains. Have a sort of gang war going on. I think there are all kinds of ways you can go. Again, I do want it kind of to still be quite realistic and not introduce too many crazy things. Because again, this feels really, really grounded. I think if they start introducing like Clayface or other things, it'd be a bit weird.
The Batmobile.
Yeah, I don't like the Batmobile. I like the car chase with the Batmobile. That was amazing, but the actual Batmobile, it's always underwhelmed me. Yeah.
I think the problem with this one is the fact that it doesn't look like a Batmobile. It just looks like a car with a rocket up its ass. That's it. That's essentially what this car is. Well, I keep slipping and saying car because it is a car. No. It's not a Batmobile, but I guess it does fit in the realism of this film, the tone.
Yeah, I would say it fits in the realism because it's like, I would say it fits more real than even the Nolan stuff. Because even as real as the Nolan stuff is, you are not going to find a man drive around in a tank. Like, that's not happening. So even that is like a bit out there. It's in the realms of possibility, but it's it's never going to happen. It's very improbable. But a guy with a really fast American muscle car, yeah. I mean, that works. Like, it's pretty souped up, but it's not like impossible. There's something, if you've got the time, you could kind of make. It does look something that's that you would see. But
I think one thing I would say about this is the best sounding Batmobile I think we've ever had.
Yeah, it does sound good.
The sound of this car is awesome. Like that opening little sequence before the chase starts where all kind of the lights come on and it's all very dark and silhouetted, and all you hear is this incredible engine noise and the jet engine noise. That was awesome. And obviously the chase itself was very, very cool.
I would say it's like it's kind of interesting because I think when Batman shows up, I think that's one of the best, if not the best, like introductions of Batman, where he just comes out of the shadow, you hear noise, and he just seems like a monster.
Yeah.
He's just come out of nowhere. He's a monster. And you don't see like some ridiculous suit up, or anything like that. He comes out of the blackness of night.
No back cracks.
Yeah, no butt cracks. He's light and no nipples. He just comes out of the blackness of night. He's like the Terminator. And you get that ominous feeling. And I think they replicated that with the Batmobile to a greater extent, like up that. I think this is one of the best also introductions of the Batmobile. Again, you've never seen it before at any point in this movie. Yeah. And Batman's in trouble and this thing just comes out like a monster, It dazes them. You still don't see what it looks like. It makes all this noise. It's like it's roaring. And that's the introduction of the Batmobile. I think it was introduced really well. Still, I think we're in agreement. The design, it could benefit from looking, a bit more Batmobile-y.
And I think that's certainly in tune to the fact that this Batman is very different to the fact that he's saying no to Wayne Enterprises. He doesn't want to be involved with any of that money. But then that brings into question of just like, well, how has he built the Batsuit? How has he developed this car when he has no money? And it's just like, there's a lot of questions around that. I understand it, but just logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's why I think a lot of the previous films, they went with that because it kind of makes Batman possible because that's his rich, superpower. He's rich. So how is he Batman in this one? I don't know.
I don't know if he's just like into really kind of advanced arts and crafts. If he's just like pulling in money and stuff. I think maybe it could just be that he's using some of the money.
Yeah. It's not really explained.
Yeah, it's not really explained, but I think he might be buying things, maybe in his travels or something. I'm not entirely sure. It's never really stated.
I think that comes on to one of the other issues I have with this film. Yes, the relationship between Batman and Gordon has never been better in this film, which is amazing. I love that. But they are kind of sacrificing the key relationship which all the other Batman films always keep hold of, is the relationship between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Alfred.
Yes, yeah, I 100% agree with that.
They definitely sideline this one a little bit, and it's such a shame because you have an incredible actor like Andy Serkis. He does feel very wasted, but also with the fact that one of the riddles is very connected to Bruce Wayne, and Alfred is opening one of the letters and he nearly gets killed by an explosion. And when he's on his deathbed, the emotions just don't really connect.
Yeah, resonate.
Because we haven't really established that relationship yet.
Yeah, I'll 100% agree with that.
So it just felt a bit unfortunate that one of the, this detective storyline that threatens Alfred, but I'm just like, the relationship's not there though, so why are you threatening Alfred? Threaten Gordon. I would say threaten Gordon.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they do they really do sideline Alfred here. So I mean, you do have the scene where he almost dies and Bruce is clearly very upset and he tells him he doesn't want to lose another family member and all this, and he has a talk with Alfred. But I do think you're right. You don't really see much of a relationship from them. Like, Alfred just chimes in every now and then and I'll help you work on this riddle. I'll help you work on that riddle. But they don't really get a chance to hang. You don't get any sense that he cares about him. They don't really have that many scenes together other than detective ones. So it's kind of, it's unfortunate.
He's always been like the emotional heart of the Batman films. He is in this one, but just
too late.
But it's not at the same time, if you know what I mean. It's too late kind of thing.
he's kind of like an absentee dad, or just very not interested. And then, they're not interested in each other, really. It doesn't feel like it. And then when he's in trouble, when Alfred feels like he's going to die, that's when it looks like they care about each other. But it's like, you need to really set that up, I agree with that. Also, one thing that I'm kind of on the fence of if I like it or not is the fact that I don't feel like there is Bruce Wayne in this. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope they do set it up, but I do find it interesting. Maybe it's kind of the origin of that, where he doesn't act like a playboy billionaire. I mean, if anybody were to see Bruce Wayne, I don't know why they wouldn't immediately think he's Batman. He broods. He doesn't say much, keeps to himself. He's very emo-like. This guy seems like Batman,
Emo Batman.
Yeah, but, he's incredibly, he's incredibly creepy, even as Bruce Wayne. I just find, like, how nobody would just put two and two together.
Yeah.
But, what I really liked about all the other Batmen on the screen is the fact that Bruce Wayne would essentially be the mask, so they would pretend to have fun, they would pretend to be very gregarious, but that's all a facade, and they're really Batman.
You'd think that there's no way this twat is Batman,
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, I would even say you go back to Michael Keaton. You would never in a million years think he was Batman, out of the suit. Never in a million years.
No.
And I think Christian Bale also does a pretty damn good job with that, of being so over the top. Because
there's a scene in Batman Begins where he's walking into a hotel with two, like, Russian models or something.
Yeah.
And they basically decide to swim in a water feature. And it's like, that guy's not Batman. It's fucking weird.
But so I think this was kind of, so I kind of understand, maybe it's so early on that he just doesn't care about anything but being Batman, even like trying to make an attempt to hide his. But I felt like that was missing. You don't even, there isn't even an ending where so the whole point of the film is he realizes he has to be a symbol for hope as well as vengeance. But he at no point realizes he needs to, like, really behave differently to achieve a secret identity. I don't think it didn't feel like they came up with the origin for that. So I don't know if they would do that in the next film. Just have people go, man, this guy's creepy. He might be Batman. And then for him to think, I need, like, to make up,
I do feel like maybe as Bruce Wayne, he is kind of like, of the little scenes we get of Bruce Wayne, he is kind of feeling the emotional effects of what he's doing. And you kind of do get the sense that he's very nocturnal, and he's always got sunglasses on when he's outside, before that funeral scene. But we don't really see much of him. But I kind of like the fact that in this film we have way more Batman than we do Bruce Wayne. Because in the Nolan stuff, it's like Bruce Wayne, Batman scene, and with this it's the opposite. Which I thought was quite refreshing.
With this, there's barely any Bruce Wayne. It's essentially like, if you just like Batman and you don't like Bruce Wayne like that much, because, like, tonally they're very different. He, like, literally switches his personality. This is just Batman all the way through. He's Batman. Even out of the costume, he's still Batman.
Yeah,
just Batman without a costume. I think that's kind of interesting. Like, cool. I also thought the riddles were pretty challenging. Like, they weren't just some, like, I do like how kind of amazing a lot of the clues were.
I think we'll leave it there. Thanks, Mars. It has been a pleasure, as always, talking Batman. I don't know what the next spoiler special will be, possibly on Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. That sounds like an absolute massive movie, so we might be doing a spoiler special on that one. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
I'm Batman.
Batman.
I'm Batman.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.